At the military academy admission physical examination site, they were still grinning at the tattoos on their bodies, Pleasant Goat, Calabash Brothers, and the school beauty's face. It wasn't until they started trying to scrub off the tattoos and found that they couldn't be removed no matter what that they began to panic and question the class monitor. "Didn't you say the tattoo from the school beauty's family could be removed? Why can't I get mine off? I only applied to military academies for the college entrance exam. If I fail the physical because of this tattoo, my parents will beat me to death." In my previous life, the whole class unanimously decided to apply to military academies and serve the country after graduation. The class beauty, who was the only one to fail the entrance exam, suddenly said she wanted the whole class to get tattoos together to commemorate the 3 years we had spent. I knew tattoos would cause us to fail the medical examination, so I tried my best to persuade everyone otherwise. But I was mocked by my boyfriend, Leo, who was also our class monitor. "Luna's tattoo is all washable. You're only trying to stop everyone from making a keepsake because you're jealous that Luna is more popular than you." The whole class also said I didn't cherish everyone's friendship and joined together to spread rumors online that I was the school's public bus. Later, the students were admitted to military academies and had bright futures ahead of them. But after her scheme failed, the school beauty hired 3 thugs covered in tattoos, dragged me to an abandoned factory in the suburbs, raped and killed me, and then posted the video online. My parents wept every day, determined to go and demand justice for me. But Leo had the brakes cut, causing the car to plunge off a cliff, killing them both. Afterward, Leo took her to hold a victory party in my family's villa. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the time when the school beauty gathered everyone to go to her house for tattoos. This time, I decided to stand by and watch coldly as they ruined their own futures together. My soul had remained beside Leo all along, watching him hold Luna in his arms as they raised their glasses to celebrate. Now that Luna has become an internet celebrity, the deaths of Ivy's whole family weren't in vain. Too bad we never got to get matching tattoos back then. That bitch ruined the most beautiful memory of our youth. The classmates present all chimed in, picking up darts and hurling them at my photo. From now on, every year on Ivy's death anniversary, we'll get together to witness our friendship lasting forever. Looking at their smug expressions, I wished I could turn into a vengeful ghost and personally teach these beasts a lesson. Just as I was about to rush over, a familiar voice rang in my ear. "Ivy, it's no use trying to stop me. I'm getting this tattoo today, no matter what. I'm not only going to get a tattoo, I'm going to have Luna's face tattooed on my chest too. The more jealous you are, the more I'll get tattooed. I'll piss you off, you jealous hag." Leo shoved me aside and led a group of people to barge into the tattoo shop. I stood there dumbly, staring at the familiar scene in the crowd, and suddenly realized I had been reborn. Leo had just been scolding me, saw me standing there motionless, and asked impatiently, "What are you standing there for? Are you up to some bad idea again?" Looking at Leo and those who treated me with cold indifference, I realized I had returned to the time when Luna led the whole class to get tattoos. Suppressing the fury boiling inside me, I said in the most restrained tone, "I think you should have it painted on your chest. That would show how much you value it. But I have to go home, so I won't stay and keep you company." Hearing this, Luna hooked her arm through mine and said with a smile, "Ivy, you stay too and join us. If you're the only one who doesn't get one, it'll make you seem too out of place." I quietly pulled my hand away and refused with a cold laugh. I've had extremely sensitive skin since I was a child. A tattoo could land me in the hospital at best, or cost me a limb at worst. I'm not playing along with you. Seeing Luna looking embarrassed after what I said, a classmate immediately stepped forward to defend her. "Ivy is just jealous that Luna is so popular and can't stand seeing us get close to her. Just looking at her pretending to be a good girl all the time makes me want to puke. We got tattoos to commemorate our youth, but she's different. she's been looking miserable from start to finish. She's really disgusting, she can't be allowed to leave, she definitely has bad intentions. Is she planning to call the teacher over? Hearing that, I sneered inwardly. In my previous life, it was at this exact time that I called the homeroom teacher and asked him to come over and stop her. I even braved the summer heat all on my own, using both force and persuasion with all the patience I could muster. Only then did I stop them at the entrance of the tattoo shop. Because I knew that my friends came from poor families, and after 12 years of hard study, it was even harder for them. Otherwise, even if they had a heartfelt desire to serve the country, they still wouldn't have all applied together to military academies where tuition was completely waived. And the so-called tattoo on Luna's body was simply impossible to remove. It was enough to ruin all of my classmates' dreams of applying to military academies. In the end, all of my good intentions were treated as utterly ungrateful. In my previous life, after I was persecuted to death, they also edited the video of me trying to stop everyone into evidence that I had bullied Luna, making her gain both fame and fortune and instantly become an internet celebrity. Pulling my thoughts back, I watched the crowd in front of me eagerly rushing to ruin their own futures, and I quickly moved a stool over to sit aside. There was only a bag of sunflower seeds and peanuts missing from my hands. No, everyone was just doing it for our made-up friendship, I understand. Since they insisted on courting death, I just grant their wish. Seeing how sensible I was being, Luna looked smug and waved grandly at the crowd, saying generously, "Today, I've specially invited a few masters here. Whatever design you want tattooed, they can do it, and everything is on discount." The students immediately burst into giggles. Luna is still beautiful and kind-hearted, she really went to a lot of trouble for this memorial event. I'm getting a pleasant goat tattoo. This kind of unexpected cuteness will definitely turn heads 100% of the time. I'm getting the Calabash brothers, from Big Brother Calabash to Seventh Brother Calabash, I want them all. I'll be the Calabash grandpa. I watched them choose their designs and styles with a smile. This time, without my obstruction, the tattooing went unusually smoothly. By the time the homeroom teacher hurried over, they had already all finished getting their tattoos. Who told you to get tattoos? Faced with the homeroom teacher's fury, Leo, however, didn't care at all. He showed the completed tattoo of Luna's face on his chest and said with a sly smile, "Teacher, look, pretty cool, right?" The students were not to be outdone, all scrambling to show off the tattoo designs on their bodies. The homeroom teacher's vision went dark and she almost fainted, pointing at them in fury. "You bunch of idiots, military academies do not accept students with tattoos, you're ruining your own futures." The students exchanged glances and all burst into laughter. "Teacher, don't listen to Ivy's nonsense, she's just jealous of Luna and spreading rumors." "Exactly, teacher, how could we possibly forget something you reminded us of so many times? Don't worry, these tattoos can be removed and won't affect tomorrow's physical examination. My family has already borrowed money from every relative and friend just to send me to school. We don't even have money left at home to pay for me to retake the year. How could I possibly joke about my own future? My great-grandfather has already informed his old wartime comrades, and they're preparing to send me off to school together. Our whole family is hoping I'll make something of myself." Luna quickly stepped forward to take the homeroom teacher's arm and said with feigned sincerity, "Teacher, all the students are adults now, they wouldn't joke around with their own future." After hearing their solemn assurances, the homeroom teacher finally let out a reluctant sigh of relief. I sneered inwardly. I believe the other students definitely wouldn't want to joke about their own future, but that might not necessarily be true for you, Luna. Now that the die was cast, I just waited to watch the show and saw no need to keep playing the do-gooder. After the homeroom teacher was hustled away by everyone talking over one another, I also got up and prepared to leave. But Leo grabbed me and said, "Ivy, settle everyone's tattoo fees before you leave." I was so angry I almost laughed. On what grounds? My attitude made Leo freeze for a moment. He said with complete confidence, "You brought the teacher over and ruined everyone's mood. Shouldn't you make up for it? Besides, whenever the whole class got together before, wasn't it always you who paid? Could it be that you were only seeking fame and reputation before?" Hearing this, I really wanted to slap my former self twice. In the past, I chased after Leo for 3 whole years, knowing his family was poor. I cried and threw tantrums until I forced my parents to subsidize his schooling and even covered his living expenses. I thought Leo would be grateful, but instead he only got worse. Every time the class had a group meal, he made me pay, calling it a way for me to build good relationships with my friends. All just for that tiny bit of satisfaction I got when, at every bill payment, my friends would tease me and call me Leo's wife. But later I realized they only saw me as a sucker, a cash machine. Seeing that I said nothing, Leo said impatiently, "Ivy, you're not going to be this stingy, are you? How much can the whole class possibly spend?" "At most, just around 10,000. Hearing that I didn't want to pay the bill, someone started to get anxious. "Ivy, can't you learn from Luna? She put so much effort into preparing this event, hired a tattoo master, and was even willing to offer a discount. Now she's just asking you to spend a little money. What's the big deal? If you don't pay, then the next time you and Leo break up, we won't help you make up anymore." "Exactly, it's just a small matter, yet you're throwing a tantrum. I don't know what Leo ever saw in you." They were making it clear, both openly and covertly, that if I didn't pay, Leo would break up with me. In my previous life, this trick had always worked like a charm. At a time like this, no matter how wronged or upset I felt, I would obediently go pay the money. "It's just that this time, it won't work anymore," I said lightly. "Sorry, my money doesn't fall from the sky either. We're all adults here. Surely you can't even afford this little bit of money." After saying that, I ignored the ugly expressions on everyone's faces and turned to leave. Behind me, Leo shouted, "Ivy, if you dare leave, I'll really break up with you." I rolled my eyes hard and got away from that disgusting place, taking a taxi straight home. Just as I reached the front door, I saw my parents looking flustered and about to head out. Seeing that both my parents were alive and well, tears instantly streamed down my face. My mother saw me and rushed over, holding me tightly in her arms. "Ivy, it's such a relief that you're still alive. It's all because Mom and Dad failed to protect you in our last life." I realized that Mom and Dad had also been reborn, and I couldn't help but burst into heart-wrenching tears. "It's all my fault. I insisted on being a do-gooder and ended up hurting you. It's all my fault." "It's okay now, Ivy, you can't be blamed for this. It's those ungrateful. Dad won't let those things happen again." Dad held Mom and me in his arms, trying his best to comfort us. After the 3 of us cried our eyes out for a while, Mom suggested that we move. Dad and I exchanged a look and said in unison, "No." In my previous life, I saved their futures and yet they ended up ruining my family and leaving me with nothing. In this life, they've all gotten tattoos, and who knows what outrageous things they might do next. We have to eliminate them completely, and we need to strike first. That night, our family divided up the work and actively prepared response plans. In the class group chat and on the campus forum, Leo and the others were still non-stop showing off their tattoos. To get back at me for not paying for them, they kept tagging me all night long with all kinds of indirect insults and filthy abuse. If I hadn't wanted to watch them reap what they sowed, would have left the class group chat long ago. Maybe my indifference had provoked Luna, because I suddenly received a private message from her. In the photo, her face was pressed against the tattoo on Leo's chest, like a pair of twins nestling together. "Ivy, you think you're worthy of competing with me for a man? By next year, when Leo repeats a year with me, we'll be able to go to college together. I'm going to keep him wrapped around my finger for the rest of his life. I directly took a screenshot and saved it, too lazy to deal with her. Luna didn't know that if my dad hadn't been supporting Leo, his vampire of a stepfather would have already sent him to work in a factory tightening screws. Keep dreaming. It's just that I wonder whether Luna would be willing to accompany Leo to become a factory girl, or rather, by then, could the anger of the whole class still allow Luna to hold out intact until she repeats the year? The next day, the school arranged for all students who had been admitted to institutions related to the public system to undergo a unified physical examination. I hadn't applied to a military academy, but I had applied to a university related to aerospace science and technology, so I also had to undergo a political review and physical examination. When I finished my physical exam, I saw Leo and our classmates enthusiastically showing their tattoos to passers-by. When they saw me, they even grinned and said sarcastically, "Ivy, did you see our group photo? This is our youth, and thankfully not part of it. From now on, we're going to apply to military academy together. Our story will definitely become a legend at school and make us the objects of admiration for the juniors." Unlike some people, lazy and greedy, cold and heartless, no matter how rich they are, they can only be a parasite on society. Faced with their mockery, I showed no reaction. After all, they were about to stop laughing soon. The students looked at the pleasant goat, the Calabash brothers, and the creative faces tattooed on each other's bodies, still giggling. It was only when they took out bottles of mineral water and tried to wipe off the tattoos on their bodies, only to find that no matter what they did they couldn't be removed, that they began to panic and question their class monitor. "Leo, didn't you say the tattoos from Luna's family could be wiped off? Why can't I get mine off at all? I only applied to one college for the Gaokao, a military academy. If I fail the physical because of these tattoos, my parents will beat me to death." When their own futures were on the line, they finally could no longer maintain their friendly attitude, and their tone also turned irritable. "Luna, say something. What on earth is going on? The physical examination is about to begin. If my great-grandfather finds out I can't get into a military academy because of my tattoo, he'll be mad enough to die. Luna, what's going on?" Watching how agitated they were, I kept a blank expression, but inside I was laughing my head off. As they wished, they were about to become famous, and soon they would become legends at the school. However, it would go down in the school's history as the stupidest example to remind all the underclassmen for years to come. Tears instantly welled up in Luna's eyes as she said anxiously, "I don't know what happened either. The tattoo ink at my house was especially made. It should definitely be washable." "It was Ivy. I saw her sneak into the shop through the back door yesterday. It must have been her who switched the ink." "Ivy, your family is so rich. You can skip college if you want, so why did you have to ruin it for the rest of us, so that none of us could get into military school?" Seeing Luna crying her eyes out, Leo's heart broke. He hurried to continue speaking on her behalf. "Right? I saw Ivy go in through the back door too. I thought she wanted to get tattoos like us, but I didn't expect her to be there to change the chemicals. Ivy, apologize to everyone and pay for everyone to repeat the year. Of course, the necessary compensation for emotional distress definitely has to be included. Let's make it 1 million per person." Hearing Leo's words, I was so angered by his shamelessness that I laughed. I tried to persuade them, but they wouldn't listen. Now that they've caused a mess, they want me to take the blame for them again. They brought this on themselves. What does it have to do with me? But the students didn't care at all. They all turned to look at me as if they had found someone to vent their anger on. Realizing something was wrong, I hurriedly tried to leave, but I was surrounded at the center of the crowd whose eyes were red with anger. "Ivy, I know you're jealous that I tattooed Luna's face on my chest. If you compensate and apologize, I can reluctantly tattoo your name on my arm." Looking at Leo's considerate expression, I glared at him, gritting my teeth. "I can't take the blame for this. Do you have any evidence?" What right do you have to falsely accuse me? The enraged ones heard me still making excuses, and a group of them rushed over and pinned me to the ground. My head slammed hard against the floor, and a warm stream ran down from my forehead, blurring my eyes. I began to argue loudly, trying to calm them down. Leo doesn't have any evidence at all. The store has surveillance cameras. Go check them. You've all been fooled by Luna. But they were completely unmoved and only punched and kicked me, venting their rage. A passing person wanted to stop them, but was held back by Leo. We originally applied to military academy together, but her jealousy got the better of her and she switched out our specialty tattoo ink, so now we can't even go to college. People like this really deserve to die. So cruel and malicious, to be capable of ruining someone's entire life. Hearing this, the people around frowned one after another. They stopped getting involved and instead held up their phones to watch and cheer. Luna cried her eyes out in front of the surrounding phone screens. Our years of hard study have all been ruined by her, going to give us justice. She's always been targeting me, but I never expected her to go even further now and hurt everyone in our class. I was condemned by everyone and could only curl up helplessly on the ground. Suddenly, sirens sounded and the police pushed through the crowd. My mom rushed over, hugging me in distress and glaring fiercely at the ones. I've already called the police. None of you who dared to hurt my daughter in public will get away. On what grounds do you say my daughter switched your medicinal solution? Officer, I have evidence to prove they're framing us. My mother looked at me again, her eyes even redder. Ivy, Mom should have come sooner. You've been wronged. I shook my head and looked at my mother, who wore a terrified expression, my heart filled with guilt. Even though I had already been reborn, the harm those people had caused was still hard to erase. If only I hadn't meddled in other people's business in my last life either. Luna looked at my mother, who was full of elegance and wealth, her eyes brimming with greed. She knew my family was rich, but she didn't expect us to be this rich. The Hermes bag that everyone envied and cherished was casually tossed on the floor by my mother. Luna stiffened her neck and said through gritted teeth, Auntie, don't just say anything for your own daughter's sake. We all know that Ivy switched the medicine and ruined everyone. As soon as Luna finished speaking, the students in the room immediately chimed in. Exactly. I saw it too. She's just jealous that we didn't take her with us and is deliberately taking revenge. Ivy, just admit it. This pack of ingrates was scrambling to pin the blame on me. Making me take the fall was the only solution they could think of now, otherwise they'd have no way to explain it to their families. Seeing so many people supporting her, Luna's face was full of smugness as she said with a smile, Auntie, if she swapped the medicine and ruined the futures of so many of us, Ivy is going to rot in prison. I think the earlier proposal of giving each 1 million in compensation was still too little. We've studied hard for more than 10 years. At the very least, each person should be given 3 million. Even my father, who arrived late, was angered into a laugh by Luna's shamelessness. He looked at her. 3 million? You have quite the appetite. Under my father's gaze, Luna felt guilty and instinctively hid behind Leo. Leo, seeing his benefactor, was also a little intimidated, but feeling Luna clutching him, he forced himself to speak. What's wrong with 3 million? Every bag Ivy owns costs hundreds of thousands. Which car or house in your family isn't worth tens of millions? We studied hard for more than 10 years, and Ivy ruined our future. For our retake year, not only do we want the best school, the best teachers, and the best environment, but during this year everything we eat, stay in, and use must be the best. We also wasted our youth by repeating a year. So isn't it normal to ask for a bit more compensation for emotional distress? We didn't even ask for 10 million, all because of our classmate bond with Ivy. I'm really so grateful they didn't take my 10 million classmate bond. I have no damn bond with them. I couldn't wish more for these people to all go to hell. The silence in the air was broken only by my disdainful cold snort. The other students naturally knew exactly what my cold snort meant. They also knew that the liquid had nothing to do with me. After all, when they got the tattoo, I never even went inside the shop. As for the back door Luna mentioned, there was a huge Tibetan Mastiff behind her house, and it would keep barking non-stop if anyone got near. How could that possibly be? But now they only want to believe that I swapped the medicine myself. They just want things to end in a way that benefits them. Under Leo's lead, the others echoed in agreement. Exactly, I'd even think 3 million is too little. After all, time is the hardest thing to buy. We've already been very generous with Ivy. Pay up. If they don't pay compensation, then let Ivy go to jail. We can't get into college and neither can Ivy. Even the police officers frowned at these people's behavior. As the situation grew increasingly chaotic, the school leaders hurried forward. Quiet, what's all the commotion about? The principal walked up to my dad with a fawning expression. Mr. Shaw, Ivy is very outstanding. If this matter isn't handled properly, it will also affect her admission to Astronautics University. How about we just... Dad let out a cold laugh and pointed into the distance. It seems you've forgotten that this building, that building, and even the land beneath your feet all belong to my family. My daughter has been wronged and bullied, and you actually want to spend money to hush things up. The principal looked troubled, his voice trembling a little, but the others all saw Miss Shaw. Isn't it wrong for you to use your power to pressure others like this? At that moment, my mother, shielding me, demanded sharply, whatever they say goes. My daughter has been wronged and you won't listen to a single word of it. The principal swallowed hard and did not dare to speak. The police also wasted no words and handled the matter according to the law. Madam Shaw, please present the evidence. Under everyone's gaze, Mom took out the surveillance video. My mom was afraid that everyone wouldn't be able to see clearly, so she asked me to hold my phone and cast the screen onto the school's big display. In the video, Luna said to a man covered in tattoos, "When my classmates get here, pick the most expensive medicine for them. Anyway, Ivy is the sucker footing the bill." The tattooed man looked worried. They applied to military academies, then tattoos would disqualify them. That's exactly so they can't get in. I didn't do well on the exam. So why should they get to go to college? They should be forced to repeat the year with me. The last shot was Luna's face, twisted with venomous hatred. In my previous life, my parents had already found this video secretly recorded by the store clerk on the way to the police station. They died in a car accident because the brake lines had been cut by Leo. Now my father only needed to use a little means, and soon someone helped him get the video into his hands. Sensing the unfriendly looks from the others, Luna immediately turned her gaze to me. She suddenly knelt down in front of me. "Ivy, I know your family has power and influence, so altering the surveillance footage is no problem at all. My store doesn't even have surveillance cameras. You fabricated that video just to make me take the blame for you. Ivy, I don't know where I offended you, but you insist on treating me like this." Luna cried rivers of tears, bowing her head and kowtowing on the ground, repeating for me to let her go. I looked at her with a cold sneer, without a trace of pity. "Your accomplice is already waiting for you at the police station. Why didn't you think they were pathetic when you were taking the others to get tattoos? When you framed me, why didn't you think I was pathetic? Besides these things, I have something else I'd like to show everyone." With that, under my mother's cue, I played another video. The main figures in the video were Luna and the principal. "I can't help you, Dad. If you don't help me, I'll tell everyone I'm your daughter. You just have to listen to me then." That's an entire class, so what if it's a whole class? Leo can repeat a year with me, we can just switch majors, the others are none of my business. You'd better think this through. If your wife finds out you have an illegitimate daughter, will you be kicked out of the house? Everyone was stunned by this video. No one expected the principal, who looked so upright and respectable, to actually have an illegitimate daughter. After seeing this video, the principal immediately went limp on the spot. This was why, although the principal didn't dare offend my dad, he still said it was my fault without even asking just now. In my previous life, our family's tragic fate was largely fueled by the two-faced principal. The other school leaders turned red with anger. If this goes on, recruiting students for the school next year will be difficult. A group of people wanted to clear the scene, but my classmates refused to leave, shouting for compensation and money. The school leaders were infuriated by them and pointed at them as they roared, "All your studying has gone into a dog's stomach, and you still have the nerve to ask for compensation. Apologize to your classmate right now. Are you waiting for us to call your parents? Or for the school to expel all of you?" Calling their parents or expelling them, no matter which one it was, they couldn't bear the consequences. They ruined their own future, their parents would skin them alive. The people who had just been so defiant all lowered their heads and apologized to me like wilted cabbage in the field, completely lifeless. Everyone who just had their hands on my daughter's head, stand up. Dad's roar turned the faces of the students in the front row pale with fear. The students behind them were drenched in cold sweat. A minute passed and still no one moved. Dad's voice grew a little impatient. Come out on your own, my family's lawyer can sue you until you're bankrupt." Some students with poor mental states had already broken down and were crying. Those who had bullied me also stood out one by one in twos and threes. Seeing so many people, Dad was so angry that he was trembling all over. He raised his hand and was about to hit those who had bullied me to vent this anger on my behalf. I hurried forward to stop him and saw the puzzled look in Dad's eyes. "Ivy, what are you doing?" The police were here now. If Dad hit someone, it would leave a bad impression. Even if money could make it go away, people would still gossip about it behind our backs later. In this life, I don't want my parents to suffer even the slightest harm. "Dad, didn't they all come forward? Just make them pay compensation, wouldn't that be enough?" "Dad, how about each of them pays $3 million as my medical expenses? If it weren't for our classmate bond, daring to hit me would have cost at least $10 million to start with." Dad didn't know what I was thinking, and his eyes immediately reddened. "Ivy, Dad, what do you think of my suggestion?" I acted to cut off what Dad was about to say. He was going to stand up for me, and it absolutely couldn't happen in front of the police. "Okay, I'll listen to you, make them pay." When they heard they had to pay $3 million, how could those people sit still anymore? "We were wrong, please just have mercy and let us go." When they knew I wasn't joking, one by one they were terrified. After my parents and I went to the police station to hand over the evidence, we went straight home. The homeroom teacher also left helplessly after looking at the students slumped on the ground. After all, words can't persuade those determined to die. Once all the unrelated people had left, everyone turned to look at Luna. It was Luna who encouraged us to get tattoos. It was she who deliberately switched the medicine, trying to frame Ivy. It was also she who caused us to lose the chance to go to college and end up with a 3 million yuan debt for no reason. Unable to hold back their anger, a few had already stepped forward to grab her hair and viciously slap her face. In just a moment, Luna's face swelled up horribly. The former darling of the group had now become someone everyone despised. Luna was still defending herself at this moment. "Those videos were all fake. I just had that kind of thought, and the final potion really could be washed off. I got one myself too, didn't I?" Luna's best friend also stepped forward. "Nonsense. You're just jealous of Ivy. You even told me before that, aside from her background, she wasn't as good as you and that she had nowhere near your strengths. I actually believed your nonsense and went to get a tattoo. You ruined my life, Luna, you bitch. And you even said you were going to seduce Leo. Why are you acting pitiful now?" Someone immediately chimed in agreement. "She's not just jealous of Ivy, she's jealous of all of us. She's the only one in the whole class who didn't get in, and she even asked us to go to the tattoo shop you and your mistress mom opened together. who knows how dirty that place is. Even a rabbit will bite when pushed too far. Luna shook off the girls holding her and asked loudly, "Did I force you to get them tattooed? Wasn't it you who insisted on getting the Pleasant Goat and the Calabash Brothers tattoos? Now that something's gone wrong, you're blaming me for everything. I used the best thing on you all." One of the students stepped forward and kicked her, then cursed loudly and shouted angrily, "Best my ass. I looked into those paints of yours. I found them on Duo, 3-something bucks, same exact logo. A lot of people use them. In a few days their skin started rotting. Best you say. Who are you trying to fool?" The other students looked as if they suddenly understood. "No wonder the place where I got my tattoo hurts so much. You bitch. So what if you make us unable to go to college? You even caused my skin allergy. I'm going to kill you." A group of people surrounded Luna and punched and kicked her. No matter how loud her cries were or how desperately she begged, none of them were moved. Holding her head, Luna looked at Leo, who was smoking beside her. Thinking she had found a lifeline, she rushed over like a mad woman. "Leo, help me, I'm your girlfriend. You said you'd protect me for the rest of your life. If this goes on, they're going to beat me to death." Seeing Luna hide behind Leo, the others felt somewhat dissatisfied. "Are you sure you want to protect this bitch?" Leo's good friend also spoke up at this moment. "Don't I know what your family situation is like? Your dad would never give you the chance to go to school if it weren't for Ivy's father supporting you. You'd already been working in a factory. You finally got one chance to turn your life around, and this bitch ruined it." The moment Leo thought that he had just gone against his benefactor for a woman like that, he regretted it terribly. Then he thought of his father at home who had made him drop out of school early and come back to work. His breathing immediately grew heavy, and the tightly clenched fists showed his anger. At that moment, Luna's bleeding voice was like a catalyst. Leo could no longer contain himself and punched Luna square on the nose. Blood covered her entire face. "Bitch!" Because the blood splattered onto Luna's arm when a classmate went to help her up, they discovered that the tattoo could actually be rubbed off. "This slut can have her own tattoo removed, but ours can't." Luna trembled all over in fear, kowtowing and begging for mercy. "You're mistaken, mine can't be removed either. Please let me go." Leo took the lead in covering her mouth and dragging her to another tattoo parlor. They used extremely strong ink on her that couldn't be washed off. Then they held her down and tattooed patterns all over her body, some indecent patterns and some unpleasant insulting words. Even if she wanted to wash them off, scars would still be left behind. The tattoo on Luna's face was the most disgusting, extremely uncomfortable. Who could possibly stand it with such a humiliating thing on her face? Not long after, the news reported that a tattooed woman had jumped to her death. The principal's wife also divorced him and made him leave with nothing. Those others, I didn't personally punish them, but my family's legal team is not something to mess with. While it probably wasn't that each of them paid $3 million, it would definitely make their already struggling families even worse off. Their parents would also give them a harsh lesson. As for Leo, she sent me a long apology message, said that the one he loved most in this life was me, hoped my dad would keep supporting him, said that once he graduated he would definitely help me manage the family business well. Truly ordinary yet self-confident. I summarized all the transfer records I had previously made to him, then I had him return every last cent to me. "This is the money you spent on me while we were dating, why should I pay it back? Is that so? Did I ever say it was a voluntary gift?" Looking at the countless zeros after the number on the court judgment, Leo stood frozen in place. Even if he were sold, he still couldn't pay back these tens of millions. "I want him to work in a factory for the rest of his life, repaying my debt for me. I assigned people to keep watch over him so he wouldn't kill himself. If he refused to eat, we forced food into him. Except for 4 hours of sleep, he spent the rest of the time in the factory tightening screws, earning money to pay me back." Whenever I saw Leo and his moments of breakdown and pain, I just felt delighted. Since you don't want a good life, then go ahead and try the path you chose for yourself. people always have to pay the price for their own actions.